What's up, Life Church New York? I'm so excited that you're joining us for our first weekly update. This is going to be a series of interviews that we'll be doing with community stakeholders here in Westchester that are making a difference in the lives of people in our county. And I'm very excited to let you know some of the great work that's happening here in Westchester, how our church is partnering with some of these organizations, and how you can get involved in making a difference as well. This is going to be a great conversation tonight, our very first one, and I'm so excited to bring our guest in a few moments. First, let me just let you know, I want to thank you for your generosity. The generosity that you are providing is helping us make a difference in so many different lives. So keep it up. I'm so proud of you, Life Church New York, because we are really extending our reach through great people and organizations. Now, a couple of months ago, many of you might remember that we started our first Showers of Hope program with this organization called Hope Community Services based in New Rochelle. We were providing some showers with our mobile washing unit with people that are displaced and homeless. And yes, we do have homeless people here in Westchester County, and it's been such a pleasure and a delight to collaborate with this great organization. In a few moments, we're going to be bringing on Walter Ritz, who works with the organization, and you're going to learn a little bit more about how you can continue to help us extend our reach, particularly in New Rochelle. Many of you know that New Rochelle was the epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak here in Westchester County and going toward New York City. And there have been so many lives of people that are from lower income families and people that have been underserved traditionally, that have been impacted by the pandemic. And so I'm so thankful, so grateful, so excited to bring on our very first guest, Walter Ritz. Walter, thank you for joining us today.
No, thank you to be here. It's a pleasure to be your very first guest. It's really an honor.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us about your role and tell us a little bit about how you are working in New Rochelle. Just get us up to speed. I met you through Carol. Carol is an amazing woman who is doing such great work and spearheading so much of the difference that we're seeing happening in New Rochelle. But let our viewers and our audience know a little bit about what you do and how we came to collaborate together.
Sure. So Hope Community Service in New Rochelle, New York is really most known for its emergency food services. So we have a food pantry here and we have a soup kitchen. Our soup kitchen runs nightly. Our food pantry is running weekly. And of course, we've experienced a tremendous increase in need. We've actually seen a 600% rise in the level of need. And we fortunately have been able to respond to that because we've had a lot of support from the community. Organizations and churches like yours have been a fantastic partner in really helping support us in this mission. And we've also had some help from the National Guard too. So that combined has really allowed us to be able to continue our food services program. But as you know, there's a whole other part of Hope, which is our homelessness programs. And that's where our collaborations have occurred. And we are still running those programs as well. And we, of course, know that the COVID-19 crisis has impacted the homeless population, just as harder, if not harder, than the rest of us.
You know, I want to kind of lean into a point here because here in Westchester County, there's a lot of affluence. We know that there are million-dollar homes. There's a lot of Teslas and Mercedes Benzes and all different types of affluence around us. And I think one of the secrets of our county at times is that there are no real issues. But can you speak to the fact that actually in New Rochelle in particular, we do have a population of people that are actually not living in homes. They're actually homeless.
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point about the perception of Westchester County and the perception that it's all affluent and there's not a real need here. But the truth is that there exists a great need here, and communities like New Rochelle and Mount Vernon and Yonkers and others actually have a significant portion of the population that is actually of low income and really need to rely on organizations like Hope Community Services to be able to meet their most fundamental needs.
Why do you think we don't see it as obvious in our county, though it's still an issue. Can you kind of help us unpack one of the reasons why it's not so, obvious about the needs that are on hand in New Rochelle?
Yeah, I think that if you drive through Westchester County, or if you drive through some of the little villages around here, affluence is certainly there. And the way our cities, I think, have kind of constructed themselves is that the lower income portions of certain communities tend to be in certain clusters. And it's pretty easy for someone to just not go in those clusters because it's not particularly in their purview or their day-to-day life, and they can kind of somewhat exist wholly in these areas that don't have low-income communities in there, or people of low-income communities. Hope has been here since 1984, and we see still a lot of people in New Rochelle that don't know that we exist until they may see something on Facebook, or maybe their friends will tell them. And I think that's kind of a sign of how things are. And then I don't think that's particularly any fault of anyone, but that is just how communities are set up, and that's why I think communities like New Rochelle and Yonkers and Mount Vernon can sometimes get overlooked and kind of fall into that cluster of being part of the affluent part of Westchester, when indeed they may be suffering even more because of that perception.
For those viewers that are watching today that are not from Westchester County, we are actually a bedroom community of New York City. In fact, New Rochelle is only maybe 15 or 20 minutes from Manhattan, just north of the Bronx. And so for me to contextualize that for you, this is still a place that is very populated, very diverse, and has a lot of needs. Why don't you tell us what you do particularly for the organization, or specifically what you do for the organization?
Sure. So I'm the executive director for Hope Community Services. And my role has really been to oversee the way the organization operates and the way it delivers its services into the community. I've been here since really one year ago tomorrow. I just realized that, yeah, I will be celebrating my
Happy
1 year anniversary at Hope tomorrow.
Mm.
And as the executive director, of course, this COVID-19 crisis was something that I didn't expect. But we have a fantastic number of partners and volunteers and community members that, again, really help us kind of get through this.
Now, why don't you tell us a couple of stories, or maybe a story that is at the top of your mind about really how impacted. I know earlier this year, I can remember finding out, I was actually traveling back to the United States. I was out of the country and had heard about the National Guard even coming, intervening in our community here. Can you tell us some, stories that might be top of mind about how we've been impacted here in Westchester County?
Yeah, it's tough to say just one particular story, but I can maybe sum up some of the moments that have occurred over the last month or so that kind of stick out for us here, because being a soup kitchen and food pantry, one of the great things that we get to do is we kind of get to see the immediate impact of your work. So as you're able to hand a bag of food to someone that's going to last them for a week, or when you hand someone a hot meal, and that's the only source of nutrition they may be getting for the entire day, you can see the impact that you're making right away. I think for me, one memorable moment was the first time we set up ourselves to be a 3-day-a-week pantry. And what I mean by that is our pantry services have typically run twice a month. So we do once every other week. But when the COVID crisis hit, we realized right away that there's going to be an immediate need for us to be able to step up in this community. And we were able to do that. We were really able to rally support from, again, our friends and our volunteers. We were able to get a significant donation right off the bat from Stop and Shop in their headquarters in Massachusetts. And what that did for us is that gave us a significant infusion of food right at the beginning of the crisis. And what that infusion allowed us to do was the moment we knew that we were going to get that food that week, that allowed us to get food out to seniors really that same week. So we had our existing inventory, which was certainly not going to be enough to last us through the week with this crisis, but this infusion of food allowed us to load up our van. Again, we hadn't done this before. This is brand new material for us. We didn't know how it was going to work, but we just knew that we needed to do something. So we packed up a bunch of bags of food and just hit every single senior residence building that we could.
Would you say that
Since
that's
then,
the most vulnerable population for you?
yeah, they are probably among the most vulnerable for really a couple of reasons. One, of course, a lot of them may have difficulties getting out. A certain portion of the senior residents are unable to get out. But when the COVID crisis struck, they all became a population that was really in danger of the virus. So recognizing that, we wanted to make sure that there was some mechanism for us to be able to make sure that they didn't have to leave their house for food, and they didn't have to go into the stores and expose themselves to other individuals that may have had the virus. And I think in doing that, there are numbers that you see and numbers that you don't see. And one of the numbers that you don't see is the number of people that you've protected from the virus.
That's
And
so good.
I am certain that being able to provide seniors weekly with food right in their home, to be able to allow them to stay in their buildings, certainly protected some lives there. And we protected the lives of a pretty vulnerable population. So that's one moment that I think really sticks in my mind among many moments, I think. But that was a source that I think I'm pretty proud of, in watching my staff here and the volunteers completely rise to the occasion.
One of the things that I've been wondering about is how are you feeling currently about the what's happening in Rochelle? It seems like in Westchester County, the curve has flattened a little bit, but there's probably still a lot of pressure points in sustaining your services to not only the elderly. I understand with schools out of session, there are a lot of at-risk families that have lower income, where kids were getting school lunch, and that might be a significant meal for a student. What's the tide and the temperature, just the culture that you're feeling right now in Rochelle?
So I think the one thing that we've seen and recognized is here to stay is the need, because as you mentioned, the curve may be flattening, and we may be getting a better pulse on getting through this COVID crisis in terms of exposure to the virus. The need is going to remain. I think the impact that this virus has left on the economy is impacting what happens when people come to our door. Now, the start of the crisis, of course, left a lot of people out of work. Some of those people hopefully will be able to return to their work when the state reopens, and hopefully we won't have as many people to have to feed. But we also know, best case scenario, we're still probably going to be looking at double what we've fed in the past. And that's because there's long-lasting effects on this. There are people that aren't going to be able to return to work because their job may be gone.
Now, does Hope Community Services allow volunteers to be on hand with your food pantry services to assist with your staff? Is there any way that people can get hands-on? Obviously, we want to make sure that people are safe and protected, and we can see that you're well protected with your mask and your gloves. Exactly. Just a part of our reality right now. Is there any opportunities for people to serve with your organization? One of the reasons why I have you on here today is because, first of all, I love the work that you're doing. Number two, I want to raise the visibility of the great work of organizations and people like yourselves that are serving at the front lines. We have people in hospitals and frontline healthcare professionals, but we also have people like you and your staff that are making a difference in the lives of others and may need some assistance. Is there any opportunities for that to happen?
There are, yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because even prior to the COVID crisis, Hope has been an organization that has really run on volunteers. We've had volunteers that have served 5 days a week here, nearly 8 hours a day.
Wow.
Really helping our services. Now, one of the things that was unfortunate when the crisis happened is that we've had to ask a lot of our volunteers to take a step back, because a lot of them were in the vulnerable category, and we of course care about their safety and want them to remain safe.
Yep.
what that has done is it's opened up some more volunteer opportunities for us. So anyone that's interested in volunteering at Hope Community Services, I would advise them to, we have an email address,
Why don't you give that
which
to
I
us?
can give, and that's volunteer@hope-cs.org. And we can also have information on our website, which is available also to look at. That's the best way for someone that's interested in helping out. And we have so many avenues for someone to help out. We have our pantry, which probably possesses the greatest need at the moment.
Right.
But we also have some soup kitchen opportunities. And one point I do want to make about volunteering is that we are very committed to safety at Hope. So, we have our personal protective equipment on, we have masks on, we have gloves, we're making sure that everyone is 6 feet apart. And that's for our safety and the safety, of course, of the community that's coming to us.
Yeah, I love that. And we'll put that email address and the website in our show notes and make sure that we put that on our social media assets so that people can tag in and follow you on your social media outlets and get connected in that way. We want to do the best that we can to help you. One of the great ways that we can help also, if you're not a person that can serve on site for whatever particular reason, we want to extend generosity financially. Our church came along just this last month and we made a donation. We plan to make more donations financially to assist in the food pantry area. We want to obviously equip you with some volunteers, but if you are watching today and you want to make a difference, I can tell you that this is a trustworthy organization with financial integrity. Our church is always given to organizations that are actually getting the resources to the people that need it. And what I love about this organization is that they are renowned in the community, well respected. You don't have to feel shaky about donating to this organization. And so we want to make sure that you know that that's a way that you can make a difference in the lives of others by just making a donation financially. Tell me, what are some of your hopes right now as we start to reshape our communities, as we're looking at reopening, as we're getting, obviously we want to be safe, we want to be secure, we want to mushroom out slowly with the CDC guidelines. Of course, Governor Cuomo is going to be giving us some dictates about how we need to reintegrate. What are some of your hopes right now for Hope and how we can actually continue to see change and sustenance in programs through your organization?
So I think the greatest hope right now is really heading toward some sense of normalcy. And I don't really mean the new normal. I mean kind of the old normal where there weren't so many people that relied on us, and we're happy, and of course, to be able to do that. But we also know what that means. The back end of that means that there are a lot of people that need us, and we're always going to be here for those people, and we will always be able to provide them with their basic needs. But ultimately, we want to see people be healthy financially and healthy in other ways. So, the hope is that we're going to be able to get to some sense of normalcy when states reopen, and people will they'll get their jobs back, and people will be able to kind of get back to, I would say, a certain sense of
Right.
normalcy. I think this, like I said before, this COVID crisis has a deep impact. It's going to be here for quite a while. But of course, I want just everyone to be safe and healthy, really.
Yeah. I think what we're doing right now is very powerful, right? It's collaboration. It's churches and organizations and nonprofits and residents getting together and saying we're one community. There is no sort of, schisms around getting together to help the most vulnerable in our community. And I love what we're doing together. You have our pledge from Life
Same
Church
here.
New York that we're going to continue to help you make a difference in what you are doing, and that you not only have our prayers, you have our resources, human and financial. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to our audience before I let you go? I know that there's plenty of work for you to do and that you've got your staff to run and so many needs, but is there anything else that you'd like to say as we come to a close?
Well, a few things. One, I just want to piggyback on what you're saying. It's been really a pleasure to work with you and really be able to kind of push forward some of these ideas about new homelessness initiatives. I think that the shower bus for us was really a great experience, and it was new. I mean, it was new to us. It was new to this community, and I appreciate that you.
We're looking forward to bringing it back in a few weeks.
Yeah, and we will be bringing that back. I appreciate the partnership, and also Shiloh Baptist Church is another fantastic
absolutely
member in being able to produce really something that I think often gets forgotten here in Westchester County for all the reasons we were talking about before. So I want to thank you for your friendship and your willingness to really help our community. So thank you for that. And I just want to say, there's lots of ways to get involved here at Hope. Of course, we mentioned the volunteer opportunities. There's also some virtual volunteer opportunities.
Talk to us about that.
We've been doing. Sure. One of the things that we've been doing most recently is we've been trying to ensure that everyone that comes to our door has something that they can use for a mask. And we realize that masks are not very easy to come by, and we've had a lot of partners make masks for us so that we can distribute it to the community on our pantry days and our soup kitchen days. So if anyone is interested in getting involved but may not necessarily want to go and mingle with others, and I certainly don't fault anyone for that, and I understand that, that's one way. And of course, there's also the ability to donate to our cause. And what happens when you donate to Hope is that 85% of the dollars that we receive goes directly into services. And of course, right now that number is much higher because we've basically been putting all our money into food, purchasing food from various organizations and getting some help from the food bank to be able to make sure that we don't have anyone that comes to our door that we have to turn away because we don't have enough food. But of course, we utilize the help of the community for that. So I just want to put in a plug in for that as well.
Thank you so much for being on, and we are going to make sure that we share this as a clear next step for everybody that's watching. Would you do us a favor? If you're watching this on Facebook, or if you're watching this on YouTube, or maybe you're even watching a clip of this on Instagram, we want you to share this link. Let people know what's happening in New Rochelle with this dynamic organization. We want you to contribute, but we also want the visibility. We want to let people know that there are great organizations working in the epicenter of the COVID outbreak here in Westchester that are doing great work. So if you would be so kind, we would invite you to share this link, talk to somebody else about what's happening. Again, I want to thank you for being on with us. We're going to stay in partnership together. You don't got to worry about that. We got you. We going to do some work together, all right? But not only showers and food pantry, volunteers, finances, we're going to do it together. I want to thank you again for being on with us. You're in our prayers, and you have the full support of our church.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Thanks again. Again, everybody, we are so grateful that you joined us tonight, and we are hoping that you'll continue to follow us on our weekly updates. We're going to keep you right on your toes on how you can get involved. And not only that, for those of you that are regular attenders of Life Church New York, you're going to find out how your giving dollars are making a difference in the lives of people. This is no time for us to disconnect because we are a little bit distant. This is a time for us to engage. This is a time for us to keep pushing in to people that actually need us more than ever. So again, I want to thank you for joining us. We'll see you back next week for our Life Church New York weekly update. God bless you. Keep moving life forward.